How much do you spend on alcohol? This is one of those questions that people don't really know the answer to. They know how much a single drink might cost, but they don't know the total investment they're making annually into drinking. If you are sober curious, then keep watching, because the financials are a great reason for trying to give an alcohol-free lifestyle a try. I'm Jamie. I shifted my relationship with alcohol over 18 months ago when I realized that it was holding me back from accomplishing some of the big goals in my life. And I've been 100% alcohol-free for over a year now. In this video, you might think we're just going to talk about the amount of money spent on alcohol itself, but there's actually so much more to this topic, some of which might surprise you. So let's talk numbers. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2023, which is the latest data that they have, the average US consumer spend on alcohol was $294 on alcoholic beverages consumed at home and $343 on alcohol beverages consumed away from home. This totals to $637 a year or $12.25 per week. So these numbers are on average across the entire US. If you're sober curious and watching this video, then you probably spend more than $12.25 a week on alcohol. That's because $12.25 barely covers a six-pack at the grocery store or 1 to 2 drinks out at a bar, especially if you live in a major market nowadays. So to make these numbers more realistic to what the lifestyle you might be living, I'll pull numbers from what an average weekend could have looked like for me. That's $10 for a six-pack from the grocery store for a pregame, a $15 cocktail at a bar, and 2 $8 beers. That's $41 in a night out. Do that once a weekend, and it's $2,132 a year. But then you can't forget about the times that you bought drinks with dinner, bought a bottle of liquor to make mixed drinks at home, were drunk and ordered a round of shots. Maybe you just had a weekend with 2 nights out, or any of these other situations where you increased your alcohol spend for the week. To cover this, I'll add $15 a week, which might even be on the low side, but this totals to $780 per year extra. So when you add the $2,132 plus the additional $780 per year, you get a new total of $2,912. And this isn't even including any of the ancillary costs that we'll get to in just a minute. I know some of you might look at these numbers and start arguing that they're too high or too low, but really I'm just using this as a ballpark because everyone is different. You might spend more, you might spend less, but just take these as an idea in terms of extrapolating your weekly cost into an annual cost to see how big of a number that might be. Now let's talk about the ancillary costs of alcohol. There are 2 main cost centers, the first being Ubers and taxis, and the second being food. This is predominantly the late night snacks, the food that you didn't really need, but this also includes the next morning when you're hungover and need to order a greasy breakfast in, or you're still so low energy in the middle of the day or the evening that you order takeout for that meal as well. And also if you're getting Gatorades or Pedialyte to deal with a hangover. I'm not going to try to attribute any specific dollar values to this because each market and each person is going to be so different. But really just think about it for a second. If you spent $20 for each direction of an Uber, you spent $20 at a late night snack, maybe $15 for breakfast the next day, and $5 for some Pedialyte or some Gatorade, that's $80 right there on top of all the alcohol you consumed. You also can't forget the cost of losing things if you're that type of drunk person. If you forget a coat or jacket somewhere, that's cash buying a new one. If you forget something like your phone, both cash and a major headache to deal with. You get the point. So, the big question, does going alcohol free actually save you all this money? It can. I personally believe that all the ancillary costs pretty much go away. You can drive, so there's no Uber costs, and you usually don't get pulled into the late night snacks or the greasy breakfast the next morning. Also, you're way less likely to lose things being in a clear head. In terms of the drinks themselves, you do also save money, but it can vary how much. Non-alcoholic beverages nowadays are pretty much the same price as alcoholic ones, but you drink far less of them. Whereas your friends might have 4 or 5 beers out, you probably will have 1 or 2 non-alcoholic beers before you switch to something like water or a soft drink. Also, as you embark on your alcohol-free journey, you'll just find yourself at bars less frequently and being in less frequent situations of actually paying for non-alcoholic beer. But just for theory's sake, it is worth noting that if you cut out all of this cold turkey and saved all that money, you could do a lot with it. If you invested that $2,912 that you saved from not drinking every single year for 30 years with a 6% estimated annual return, you'd come out with $246,942. And look, I know it's not entirely realistic to do that type of math because you're going to be using that money for other things along the way most likely, but it does put into perspective how much future potential you're giving up for drinks today. I couldn't make this video without also mentioning one other major cost of alcohol, which is the emotional one. This could be the fact that it's eroding your self-esteem, adding shame or anxiety to your life, or things like this. Don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun and made some lifelong bonds during my drinking days, but I got to a point where it was no longer right for me. My emotional health became more important, and I can confidently say now, after going through the turmoil of that transition, that the alcohol-free lifestyle is right for me. So, for anyone sober curious watching this right now, when you cut out alcohol, you do save money you would have spent on those drinks. And you do save money on the ancillary costs as well. But life also pays you with more time, more energy, more productivity, and more clarity. And I know it's not always an easy transition going from drinking to not drinking in your 20s, but if you stick with it, it can definitely be worth it. So if this video was helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel for more alcohol-free content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.